Hey, what's going on guys, Xuen here. So today I'm going to be going over the new Azerite trait we are going to be getting in 8.1, as well as certain builds that are going to be good for trait stacking, what I think is going to be best going into 8.1, and stuff that you might want to shoot for before 8.1 comes out. But at the same time, keep in mind that they're going to be adding vendors for Azerite gear if you do not know that already, which is going to make it a lot easier to shoot for pieces that you want rather than relying on RNG. That is a really good change that Blizzard making in 8.1, so if you don't happen to get these Azerite pieces before then, don't sweat it. There's going to be a way to get them. So let's get started, and keep in mind that I am streaming right now, so there's no written script on this, and I might mess up a little bit, but we'll just go with it. So first off, we're going to be going over what the Azerite trait is that we were getting in 8.1. First off, you know, keep in mind that the new Azerite traits, I kept saying first off, but keep in mind that these Azerite traits, you're only going to be able to get 2 of them so far. For every single class right now, you're only able to stack it twice. So just kind of play around what the second trait would be best with, you know, if you want, I don't know, Elemental Whirl or like Overwhelming Power if one of them is like that, but the secondary traits for these pieces of gear aren't really that great, but the main trait is pretty good. So let's go over that now. The new trait is Primeval Intuition. Your maximum focus increased to 120, and Mongoose Bite increases your critical strike by 26 for 12 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. I think this is going to be a good trait, but I do not think this is going to be a good trait to stack. And the reason for that is because there are other Azerite traits that survival hunters can rely on that do a lot more damage and provide a lot more to groups, raids, threes, battlegrounds, pretty much everywhere. However, I do think by having one of these, if you want to run a specific build, will be really good. And I will be going over, I believe, 4 or 5 different survival hunter builds that I think are going to be really good in 8.1. And I will also be going over my personal build if you want to shoot for that. Let's also mention that both those pieces of gear have a really good trait, and the last trait called Nature Salve. Exhilaration heals you for an additional 21k health, and the cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds. That is huge. Having a 20k heal or 21k heal with your exil. On top of that, if you do take Natural Mending, which reduces the cooldown of your exhilaration every time you spend focus, you can get exil up pretty fast, but in 3s, you don't take that versus certain comps. Let's next move into the builds and the trait stacking that you will be wanting to shoot for depending on your playstyle. So the build that I'm currently running right now is Triple Laden Poison. Now, it's not the best for PvE, especially. There was a huge buff to Blur of Talons, which I'll be going over next. But let's first go over Laden Poison and why I like the build. I'm running with Laden Poison, and right now I'm personally just running 3s. I'm not running, you know, that much PvE. But Triple Laden Poison is viable in PvE. It just requires a really weird rotation. You would be taking something like Hydra's Bite and then throwing your bomb, doing a carve, and then waiting for your Laden Poison ticks to stack higher, then hit Mongoose Bite, tab target, hit Mongoose Bite, tab target, hit Mongoose Bite to consume your Laden Poison stacks. Laden Poison is an ability, if you do not know already, to where your Serpent Sting applies Laden Poison stacking up to 10 times, and then your Mongoose Bite consumes all the applications of Laden Poison to deal X amount of damage, depending on how many stacks you have. In PvP, it's kind of a meme. If you can verse teams that do not know what Laden Poison is, it is a huge meme in arenas to just chunk people outside of burst or in burst. I will show you a clip right now, if I can actually get the display capture to work, of a highlight of what Triple Laden Poison can do in arenas. You see, I'm going to trap the hunter here. I found my burst. I have Triple Laden Poison on the Shaman. I'm going to hit him with Mongoose. And he gets chunked. Now watch what happens to the warrior. That right there was a 10 stack Laden Poison crit. And it is a huge meme and very satisfying in arenas. The only thing is that when playing that specific build, you have to play very passively. And then once you get those stacks, you start to go and just chunk people, then play more passively again, go and chunk people, and not many people like that play style. At the moment, Dilly is actually running double laden poison. I'll be talking about another build for survival hunters and something that Dilly runs. Dilly is a multi-rank 1 survival hunter. He's also a good friend of mine. I talked to him about if he thought that triple laden poison was viable. He said it is, but he personally prefers running double laden poison with 1 wilderness survival. So that is the second build that you can run. Turn down the music a little bit. My friend made this song as well. So wilderness survival. He runs double laden poison wilderness survival. Wilderness survival is really good if you want to keep up a rotation, stick to targets, and it's where your Mongoose Bite deals an additional so-and-so damage depending on how many wilderness survival traits you have, and reduces the remaining cooldown of Wildfire Bomb by 1 second. I personally think, and so does Dilly, that you only need 1 of these. This actually gives you more of a sustained DPS and 3s rather than just passive then burst, passive then burst, passive then burst. So if you like the laden poison build but you're not looking to play super passive, you can run 1 wilderness survival and 2 laden poison. So that's going to be your second build. Keep in mind that your second best Azerite trait is definitely going to be overwhelming power. Survival hunters rely on as much haste as you can possibly get. And it also favors laden poisons because the more haste you have, the faster you get those ticks. Let's move into a sustained burst build, which is going to be the next 2 builds. So you can also do Primeval Laden as well. I forgot to mention that. If you want to do Primeval Laden, take the new talent, then go double laden poison, then take the Primeval talent. You can definitely do that. It might be better than the wilderness one just due to the fact that laden poison synergizes really well with crit. Again, you guys saw that where he get chunked for half his health with a laden poison crit. So if you can add more crit to that while you're bursting, then tab target, then hit another target. So you're going about bursting, right? You go about bursting and you're hitting this target. You get your Mongoose Bite stacks, right? Mongoose Bite would actually pop. Hang on. My macro is just messed up. So you got about Mongoose Biting. You get these stacks. You get 5 stacks. And then the other target with your laden poison that you're keeping up, you swap to with a huge Mongoose Bite with those 5 stacks. If that makes any sense. Again, when you do Mongoose Bite, you get Mongoose Fury, which increases the next damage of your Mongoose Bite by 15%, stacking it to 5 times. If you constantly keep laden poison up, if you constantly keep that up, when you go about bursting, you can hit an off target to stack Mongoose Fury. And then, once it has 5 stacks, you hit someone with a 10 laden poison, 5 stack Mongoose Fury, and you chunk them hard. Really, really hard. Now, the thing about that build in arenas is very hard to pull off, mainly due to the fact that it can be dispelled. That's one of the huge drawbacks to laden poison, is the fact that it can be dispelled. So if you're running that build, it's very important to synergize with your teammates and make sure that you have proper cross crowd control so they don't dispel that. So it's important to not only, have, if you want to go for triple laden poison, it's also important to keep different sets and know how to play around those sets just in case you're versing something like a Windwalker and maybe a Shaman, which would have double poison dispel, if that makes any sense. So then that would pretty much make laden poison not the best to play, especially in high rated PvP, because they would know what it is. So that's pretty much the laden poison build. I still like it a lot. I love that build because it's really, really fun. I just like getting those huge chunk just burst numbers. It feels really good, but again, just keep in mind that it's not for everyone and it doesn't work all the time. Let's move into the other traits with Blue Talons. Now this is going to be your more general PvE build and also works in PvP if you're more of a, you know, just go in there and consistently do damage for a very long period of time. And it hurts because they buffed Blur Talons. It used to be Latent Poison was actually the best to go, even spamming Mongoose Bite and not even waiting for ticks. You'd still go in there and you just spam Mongoose Bites and Latent Poison was your highest damage. Until they buffed Blur Talons. So let's go over Blur Talons really quick. If I can find one. So Blur Talons, during your coordinated assault, Mongoose Bite increases your agility by 172 and your speed by 56 for 6 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. I'm not sure how much they buffed this. I think it was like 50% or something like that, but it was a massive buff. Now, one way that's really good for... Am I still in comment? I think my pet is. Okay. So, the build that you can run for this, there's a few builds, mainly 2. But you can either do 2 Blurs of Talons and have a one of the new traits with a Prime. If I can find it. Primeval Intuition. You can run 2 Blur Talons and then 1 Primeval Intuition, or you can run the build that's mainly played right now in PvE, which is Wilderness Survival and 2 Blur Talons. And the trait that you go for, the talent that you go for that synergizes really, really well with this build is Birds of Prey. If you can coordinate, especially in 3s, if you can coordinate proper crowd control when popping Coordinated Assault, you can make Coordinated Assault last for about 40 seconds, which means that your Coordinated Assault is on a minute 20-second cooldown, which is pretty big. So, and keep in mind I wasn't really running Hydra's Bite for PvP, but you'd be running like Birds of Prey, you'd probably run, I think Murder Crows would be good, but you could still run it in Bloodseeker if you wanted. But it's mainly Birds of Prey that synergizes really, really, really well with Blur Talons, making it to where you could just constantly have up your Blur Talons. So I'll summon my pet really quick. I'll go the new trait for the Prime Intuition. I keep forgetting what it's called. And we'll see how long we can keep Coordinated Assault up. So I'm gonna open up with Bleed there, Bomb, pop my Burst. Forgot to pop Aspect of or Crows. So Blur Talons is still going. And you see we're getting a ton of agility here. 1,720 agility right there. Coordinated Assault is still up. Your agility still is increased by 1,720. Coordinated Assault is still up. Your agility is still increased by 1,720. I was not paying too much attention to my rotation. I'm mainly focused on the buffs, on how much focus I have. And I just had it drop there, but that's a pretty good example. Just put my pet on passive. We almost made Coordinated Assault go for a minute. My guess is around 45 seconds, maybe 50. So now it's a minute cooldown. So you technically kind of have that amount of burst every minute or so. And trust me, I have versed players that have had double Blur Talons and like Wilderness Survival, and it's scary how much damage they put out. If you can get your hands on a set like that, I would, just in case you're versing, just in case you like the Latent Poison build and you're versing a comp that has double Poison Dispel. It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. Even though Wildfire Infusion is really good, I still think that Birds of Prey synergizes a lot better with this, especially for PvE. PvE, you have no way of getting interrupted on your Coordinated Assault, so that's a must for PvE, but I still think that you'd be switching between the two. I personally prefer Birds of Prey for those builds with Blur Talons, but you can also run Wildfire Infusion if you so choose. But yeah, that's pretty much going to cover the Azerite traits for 8.1. Let me know what you guys think. If you think that these traits are good, if you think they're bad, what you think if they're, you know, maybe they'll come out with new traits later on. I don't know. If they do, I'll make another guide. But yeah, I'm excited for the new traits for sure. I'd like to see your guys' opinions. If you guys have any builds that you have, I'd like to hear it as well. Please post it down in the comment section below. Keep in mind I'm streaming if you want to catch me at twitch.tv/Xuen. For any questions, that's probably the best place to reach me because I can answer you right away. But yeah, take it easy guys. Thanks for watching and have a great day.